Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. Today I have a guest that I personally know since quite a few years, Fabio from Functional Tennis. He now reached 1 million followers on Instagram. Pretty impressive. He's selling the very, very cool Saber practice racket that I've done reviews of and I really like and use, and many other products. And he's also done like Christmas jerseys. So we can talk about that a bit as well. But first of all, how are you today, Fabio?
Jonas, great to be on your show. Thanks for having me. I've seen many of your interviews and I was waiting for the day to be asked. So I'm delighted. And also thank you for jumping on my podcast last week to the couple of episodes talking about the Racket of the Year, which we're coming into our final now. So we'll put that live tomorrow, but your input was greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I completely forgot you as a guest idea. You know how it is with guests. Sometimes you wreck your head, or I mean, you always want to talk to some people. But since you had your own podcast, I was never like hit me that I could talk to Fabio. But now you're here, so that's good. That's good, and I'm happy to have been on yours and to talk about rackets and your racket championship there on Functional Tennis. But a little bit maybe on the background of yourself. I mean, you've been in tennis quite a while. You're a strong player. I've hit with you a number of times. How did you get started in this beautiful sport?
Well, started as a young kid. Like I think I was probably late to the game. You consider 10 to be late to the game. And I used to play soccer before that. Then I took up tennis and just enjoyed it. I used to play with guys and girls who were older than me. So they were 2 or 3 years older than me. So I got good kind of quick once you're playing with people older than you. And then they sort of stopped playing when they're 14, 15. I would have been 14, 15. They would have been probably 17, 18. They would have stopped playing. I kept going. And then I used to train in some squads and you did play tournaments. Was okay. Like may have pushed like top 10, top 12 in the age group, but never really got better than that. It probably got better in my late 20s, early 30s, where I'd stopped for a long time. And then I decided to play a lot more. I used to live, the National Training Centre was in the university beside me. And then they started using the indoor facility there to train. So I used to go over there and hit with like the best players in the country, females and males. So my level jumped. And that's really probably where I improved a lot. So I did a few years of that where I was flexible with work at the time. So I get a call the night before, as tennis players are like that. Can you hit tomorrow? 2 hours. And I could say yes most of the time. So it was really good. And I used to do some fitness stuff with them as well. And that was just really a way to bring the level up. And I really miss that now. And the goal of functional tennis was always to make me a better tennis player. But I maybe a couple of years in, I was playing well, and then since then it's sort of been downhill, unfortunately.
I think it's really tough to become a better tennis player, even if your goal is just to get 1% better. I think you use that term in some of your merch and stuff, and I think it's a very good point of view to have. Like I just want to get like 1% better all the time. But even that requires a lot of dedication in tennis because it's such a difficult sport. So you need to play a lot of sessions, like you had a period where you're playing a lot and then you improve, but as soon as you start dropping and you're not playing as much anymore, like it's not like your level stays, you go down because your intensity goes down and everything, right?
Yeah, there's a few things going on. I find there's like levels. So once you hit X amount of balls, once you hit your first 10,000 balls, you're this level. Once you hit 20,000, you get another level. And you sort of can maintain that. You can go higher than that, but you'll drop back there. You won't drop much lower. And that's it with pros. They're up here, they're level 99. And if they don't play, if Federer doesn't play he's obviously ultimate goal level. If he doesn't play for a couple of years, he still have he'll be still really good. He won't go bad, and his level will be, his not playing for 2 years level will be a lot higher than my not playing level for 2 years. So you maintain a certain standard, I think. But I do agree with you also where you do have to put in a lot of time. For me, it's like 4 weeks, 4 days a week, 4 to 5 days a week, 4 weeks. I find a good level. And then it's how long can you hold that? It depends what's going on. If you're playing a tournament or 2 or 3, and then you find you get better and better. And then it gets to a stage where you're burnt out. So yeah, I enjoy it. I just haven't got to the part where I can start on week 1 again. I find there's a lot of other work I need to do to get to before I put into 4 or 5 days a week. And I have a few kids in the way as well.
Yeah, I know. You have a big family, which is cool. And maybe tennis players in the future, who knows? You've been doing following tennis so closely now. Like, what has stood out to you about the sport that can be improved, but that is also a good thing about the sport? Like some pros and cons about where tennis is now, because you have the largest Instagram account about tennis. So I'm keen to hear what you've learned watching all these clips and reposting, reformatting, editing, doing podcasts, and you've done a lot in this time.
Yeah, there's so many areas you can touch on. One, you just mentioned there, my kids might play tennis. I don't know if they're going to play tennis. I know what's involved. I've seen some of these best like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 year olds. I know what's involved from an early age. It's quite intense. You know, I think the parents have to push it a little bit at the start, obviously, to the point where the kid loves it and then they drive it forward. But it is expensive. You know, you see kids moving away from home, parents moving. I think it's very upsetting when you hear some of the stories. So I do think it's really, really hard, and the kid has to love it. And then you do need like only, you know, if you're the best players at those age groups, you do get good financial support. You may become champ seed at Mortoglu. You may do, you know, you get more opportunities. But if you're just below that, we have to fork out a lot of money. There's just nothing guaranteed, and it's really tough. So it's recently I spoke to Lulu's son, and she talked about how her mother, she wanted to go pro, but her mother really pressed her education, 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 and she went to college in a year. It was during COVID, but she only played one season. She got to three, and she finished a degree early, and now she's what, top 40 in the world. So, you know, she's a backup there, and it's good for tennis players to have a backup. So that's what's bad and slash sort of good. But no, look, tennis is a game for fun. There's so many players out there who love it. Like most of our followers aren't professional players, like who interact with our content. Yes, we share a lot of them, but most of our followers are just people who love tennis, whether in the park, whether they're, you know, new to. They're most of them are a bit newer to the game, and but they just, it's the love of tennis is unbelievable. Like you see it with the rackets. I'm sure that's more extreme, where people just want to know everything about the rackets. They want to test stuff, and they have a million questions, because sometimes you bump into these people and you'd be with them an hour. They're just questions, questions. I'm like, I'm not the guy to answer those questions. Jonas is. But it's just the love of the game out there is amazing. And for me, it's given me a lot of connections. Like I can literally say, whatever city I'm going to, I can put on our stories, and there's somebody out there reach out. Do you want to play tennis? You know, it's so it's given me a lot of access, and it's good for when, if you're a tennis player and you move to a different country, you know, you can quickly get into your local tennis community wherever you move to, and you become a part of that. So it's given people a lot of, what would you say, yeah, community aspect to it. And there's that vibe in the Instagram account I have learned, you know, that's been built up, and there's just this good feel of tennis players out there. Not sure if I'm answering your question here now, but it's yeah, tennis is game for life.
Yeah, I think the community aspect is easily overlooked. Like with sports in general, I mean, you feel it in tennis. Like fellow tennis nerds, tennis lovers, they all kind of can see eye to eye on some things. And I've noticed that when you're traveling, like if you find tennis players, you know you're in the same tribe, right? Like it's a way to get into a community if you're moving, as you said. And it's a passion for life. You can play with an 8-year-old, you can play with an 8-year-old. So you can actually hit some balls with everyone, no matter of the level. Of course, there will be strong levels in tennis where like it's not as much fun to play a guy who's 2 levels better or 2 levels below, but we can still hit and can still enjoy the game. So that's quite important. When it comes to like Instagram, which is your main channel and the one you're working the most on, and where you have 1 million followers, like how much work is it for you, like keep up with the trends of the algorithm and how to deal with this? Like it's a company owning Instagram, obviously, and they might change things all the time, and there's new features, and whoops, something appears, new button somewhere. How much work is that just to keep up to date with Instagram?
Uh, it's sometimes stuff happens and the views are lower and you don't know why or how, but they magically just get back to where they are. And you try and use new features. If Instagram put out new features, you try and use them. Be it, I think when Reels came out, was real. A lot of accounts, like growth was quite slow in general, and then when Reels came out, everybody's accounts just grown really quickly. I'm not sure how maybe TikTok is like that. I don't know too much about TikTok, but Reels has definitely allowed a lot of accounts to grow quickly. And so yeah, you get on top of that, but then things change. We used to do more carousel posts, and we post so much, we mix it up. So you sort of learn what works and what doesn't. Like I think we posted about 12,500 times. So we posted every day for 8 years.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Now
consistency.
yeah. So it's been consistency since day one, which is quite tough mentally, because you're just always on your phone, and you may say, I don't tend to schedule a post. I schedule the odd one, but if you're to do a day of schedule and post, all of a sudden you're not on the platform. So you don't know what's happening. You sort of lose touch a little bit. So I'm sort of a curator. That's my job title, you could say. I curate content and I find, what could do well for us, what's interesting. But plus we've built up over 8 years, like the amount of people, videos we've posted, we've built up relationships with them. So you might send me, Fab, I have this great video. Do you want it? So it's not, all of our content is not repurpose content. It's content that's sent fresh to us. A lot of us by people, they want us to post it, or sometimes I may say, for you an example, can you do me a video on this? And people make us videos on this. Some of the videos are our own that I film myself. So it's just a mix of all these. And look, you're throwing everything. You're throwing all the paint on the wall and you're seeing what sticks, and sometimes stuff works and sometimes something doesn't. And sometimes you think you have a great video, this video is going to break the internet, and it does terrible. You're like, no. And I think I learned early on that I don't tend to edit videos. I tend to keep them like sort of one angle, one shot, and that's it. You spend time editing them, it takes up too much of my time then, and they don't tend to do as good. So I think maybe the advice here is you feed your audience. So I'm giving them certain content, a certain style of content. And when I change that style of content, they may not like that. It's not the algorithm. It's just my audience may not like it. And so that's the feedback. And then you can try and push them onto that content if you do enough. But if I do video of me, like I've sort of stepped more away from it. I don't do so many with me personally in them. They don't tend to do that well. I haven't showed my audience enough of me, but if I went on a 3-month campaign, say, okay, I'm going to do a few videos of me every week, you can warm them up to it. So you sort of, the content you put out there is what your audience expect to get. And if you give them something different, your views are going to be normally worse. Sometimes it can do better, but normally it goes worse. And also there's content like, because we're growing every week and every month, a lot of our followers may not have seen content. So we show old content that did well for us in the past, and we think, okay, these new subscribers may have never seen this, so that's why we push that back out there. But we could be 6 months or a year sometimes before we reuse the content.
Yeah, you have to keep the consistency. I think that's one of the most important parts of social media. But there's also an interesting feature. I mean, I've noticed that being kind of the racket guy, whatever you want to call it, and doing Tennis Nerd, and we do other content on the website, and I have the podcast, of course, where I talk to coaches and yourself and stuff. And but you still get painted into the corner, like of this is the content you should do. This is what performs. Like it's racket reviews and pro player rackets generally on my YouTube channel, right? So you feel sometimes a little bit discouraged. Oh, I'm going to try this new thing. And then you do it. And then it's like, a few thousand views. And you're like, okay, people don't like that because your audience is not geared up for that type of content. So it's tricky. You can get like painted into your own corner of your own content, kind of.
Yeah. Well, two things. One's a product angle, I'll tell you in a sec. But the other is, the exact same for us, our podcast content. The podcast does well as a podcast, but just because people listen to your podcast don't mean they're going to follow you on Instagram. And just because people are on Instagram doesn't mean they're going to follow your podcast. So our podcast content doesn't do great on Instagram. Like I did a post with you actually a couple of days ago. That did okay. I was actually quite happy with that. Compared to a normal post, it's not as good. But for a podcast post, I was like, that's pretty good. So you have to be a bit topical, throw something out there. And I think you were talking about, was it racket specs? I think it was that. But also it's where somebody goes, oh, Fab, you can launch any product you want. Like you have 1 million followers, but you can't do that. You can't just throw out a new product and go, hey guys, go buy that. It doesn't work like that. So, I wish it did, but no, it doesn't work. So, I think the audience is all about warming it and then giving them more of what they want. And that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah, and I think you have a pretty strong brand around, the name Functional Tennis is about, I guess, useful tips, like things that can be functional for your game, like inspiration on, obviously, when you're seeing the videos of strong players hitting. But you're posting a lot of training sessions, right? Which is interesting, in which actually gives you a bit more access, like you cannot really use a lot of ATP or WTA content because then you get copyrights stricken already, right? So straight away. And but here you can actually get some functional tennis tips. And that led to your products, right? You had the match journal, you still have it, I guess, and practice journal. And then I guess your bestseller, I would assume, like the one I use the most, which is the saber, right? How did that journey and how did that idea come into your head?
Well, first of all, the match journal actually stems back to about 2009, early iPhone days, where I developed an app. I had a guy develop an app for me called My Tennis Tracker. And it was basically an app where you could put in your tennis results and you could plan and post your matches. And it did okay. We had people using it, and my goal was then to play some futures, and promote it while I played futures. But it just didn't work out. Actually, what actually happened was the coder, well, my tennis probably wasn't good enough. That's really what happened. But the coder had his machine in the States, had the backup, I had all the code there. He said he had some thunderstorm or something, and the machine blew up, and we'd no backup. And at that time, the Christmas jumper business was taking off, and I was like, you know what? Move on from this, just move on. So when this audience started building on Instagram, and I had a love of e-commerce, I have a bit of love for software and tennis, I was like, okay, what can I do here? And I thought about doing the app, but they're quite expensive. It was a lot easier building an app back there. You're building for iPhone, that was it. Now you've like iOS, Android. Then is it going to be a web app? Is it going to be like a proper app on the phone? So, and then you need a web version, so there's a lot going on. So it's like, look, people are already, this is 2017, maybe, like, people are already spending too much time on their phone. Let's do a journal version of it. So that's where the journal came, and we had a match journal. And then I was like, we're selling a few, we're doing okay, but I was like, this isn't going to sustain me if I go full time at this. So I needed another product. And I think the cameraman came a year after that. And then we had the practice journal came roughly the same. I think 2018 then was the tennis pointer. And it just fit in, if the wooden spoon fit in really nice with our audience. It's not my product. It was a product by a Czech guy, and he developed it for his students. And yeah, I think there's a German company owned it, the license to it, and they only sell a handful every year. And I remember going back to them one day. I was like, guys, you got to do me a better deal on this. Like, without me, you guys be still selling a handful these year. And they were like, the week sales ramped up, the week you ordered from us, we sent out an email to our coaches that week. And I was like, that's crap. That's absolutely crap. So no, that product was really successful, and people loved it. It was good. It was totally different. People were like, what is this? Like a wooden spoon, but it was copied everywhere in Eastern Europe. People were copying it. It was appearing on Amazon. It was appearing on Alibaba for like 30, 40 euros. Like, I've even seen 25 euros. But the product we had was actually made with European red oak, which is quite expensive. It's a great wood. It was proper cured. You could leave your pointer out overnight for weeks on end, and it wouldn't crack. It was amazing. And we still have people who bought in 2018 still using it today. So it was a great product. But sales were starting to dry up because it was appearing everywhere. There was no copyright or trademark on it. And so I knew that was going to happen. So that's why I started thinking, okay, how do I create something else, like a racket version of it? And that's really the pointer not of, the saber not have come. I don't know what functional tennis would have been today. Like, I would have had to, pull the emergency cord, and I don't know, because sales were down a lot, and I didn't know what was next. And I sort of, when the saber came and I saw it come together, then I knew, okay, I think we're in the right place here.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's a great hitting product, right? Like I mean, testing everything that I do, you want that sensation when you hit the ball. And to be honest, like the tennis pointer was a good training tool, but I always felt like it's a little bit too much stiffness going when you're hitting with a wooden spoon. While with the saber, you can actually play a little bit more freely.
Yeah.
You can actually enjoy tennis, and you can have a lot of fun. You can do a saber match. You can do everything. It's just like a tiny racket, right? So I think you did a great job there, and the look of it is obviously nice as well, which helps. So this was the right way for you to go. Like, so when did you decide okay, I'm going all in, like I'm going full-time functional tennis?
Well, sorry, I'm just going to cut back there. The saber and the pointer. So, what would have all the reviews we got of the pointer led to the saber? Really, like, it was, you had to use a continental grip with the pointer. People changed their grip. You couldn't hit top spin. You couldn't do rally. It was more of a feeding thing. And the saber solved all that. You can use your Western grip. You can hit top spin. You can play all shots, as you said. You can play matches with it. You can play one-on-one. You can rally with it. You can do so much more. It's easier for the arm. So that's really, of all of our customers, the pointer to thank for leading to where we got to with the saber. But when did I go all in on functional tennis? Probably 2019. Like, I was pretty lean. We were lean. I'd say 2019. I was still doing the Christmas jumpers a little bit, but that's only 8 weeks of the year. Maybe 2000. I used to work. My parents have a family catering business. I used to do a bit of work for them. But I was doing a little bit of work for them. But I remember the day I was like, I just can't do this anymore, So I went, but I probably, I'd say 2019, I decided to go all in. And yeah, it was challenging at the start. Obviously, the pointer was doing well. Then it sort of went the other way, and then the saber came about. So it's been it's been like any business really. It's a challenge. You're really lucky if it's all roses all the way up. There's always challenges along the way. So I'm sure there are a few more ahead of me. Uh, but so I reckon it was it's too late 2018, 19. I'm not sure the exact date, but it's been a while now.
Yeah, but it's good, and it's the way to go. I think you have to focus, otherwise you're never going to get to a good point, And obviously you had your pandemic coming your way as well, which was, I guess, a complication. In many places people couldn't play tennis even. But once that was over, I guess the saber really took off, and I bring it around like when I play and get people to try it, and everyone likes it. Like I've never had anyone who doesn't have a smile on their face after trying the saber, because it's just a gimmicky thing that actually works. It's something that stands out, that people look at from afar and close, and then like, oh, you can't hit a ball with that, and then they try it, and you can actually hit a ball. You don't have to be a super level player to hit a ball, which is pretty cool. It's like one thing that stands out with that product.
Yeah, it's a total surprise. People are intimidated. They're like, I could never hit with that. No, no, no. And then they hit with it like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I think that if you have a product like that, I think that really makes it a lot easier, because people, like, then they tell other people, and then their friend has one. They're playing doubles together, doing other things. We've seen a lot of that. I've seen, like, I send so many of our customer video messages, and I've got, like, the feedback's been amazing, and they say, oh, my friend's picking one up, or we're playing doubles match tonight, or we've coaches playing matches with them. And so yeah, so it's a cute little friend. I do wonder to myself, is it, sometimes you say, is it a fad? How long is it going to last? Or how, it's one to just make sure it's a really good tool. I don't want it to be a fad, of course, for many reasons, but I think, look, I've seen a picture of it in Novak's bag. I've seen it in his hand. I've seen other top 10 players. Even funny, this is with the wooden spoon. We had Iga's coach reach out to us. We didn't have the saber back then, and he bought one for Iga, who was using it. But they wouldn't send us videos. Like, so some players won't, their team won't send us videos. But look, we've had other top 10 players use. It's been amazing. Like, we've seen multiple college #1 players use it. It's used by #1 doubles player in the world, a few other doubles guys as well. So it's heavily used out there. And when you see the top people using it, it means a lot. It says, okay, this device must be actually useful.
Yeah, the endorsement of a product. I mean, that's what we talked about in the kind of racket championship. You had like the racket brand championship, or whatever we should call it. But the importance of having some kind of credibility lent by a strong tennis player that is kind of a famous tennis player. And we had videos with, like, I guess Hurkacz, maybe Stan the Man for sure, at least I remember. Yeah. And I think this validation is quite important. Is that something you see also with your, like, video content, that the higher ranked the player, the more interesting the video is, kind of?
No, not really. It depends. Just like if you get Roger Federer on the podcast today, it might not be our most popular podcast. There's no guarantee. But no, the videos that do well for us are just totally mixed. Sometimes, like, it's a college player who plays a bit like Alcaraz, and people are like, oh my God, that's Alcaraz. And they just love that. And of course, if you do Federer content, always does well. Nadal content, the GOAT stuff always does well. But it's about sometimes lower ranked players, behind the scenes stuff. Like, as you say, the practice content they may send to us directly. And yeah, there's no guarantee. Just because you're the best player in the world doesn't mean you're going to have your content's going to do the best. But in general, sorry, well, maybe maybe the top 5 content does well. And outside of that, then, like, there's players out there that a lot of people don't even know about. They're in the top 30, 40. More so, unfortunately, for the female side of things. Doubles players, like, you may not know anybody from 60 to 100. Unless there's some singles guys thrown in there. So there's no, I won't say there's no formula, but I think when I see a video, it can be like a 10, 12-year-old kid, you think, oh, well, they're really good, their forehand's really good, their movement's really good. That video can do really well. So it depends on, sometimes it's how much sun is in the video. Is it filmed indoors or outdoors? I think what changed for us was, and I remember the day where somebody said to me, well, how did you upload that video? That since then, before we would have pulled a lot of videos, but it's been a few years now where we get videos sent to us directly in high quality. So we're trying to post the exact spec you need for Instagram. So somebody on the other side can see like a proper, I think Instagram does HDR now, so you can see HDR version of video. And a lot of people think it's 4K. You don't need 4K. It's 1080p. That's all you need. But we're also educating the players and the coaches and the parents saying, look, can you send us a video in this format, film it this way? And they're happier then because they get better results. Their kid gets more visibility. And we do have a lot of agents onto us who want us to feature their junior players to give them visibility. And it's I think some people are happy when they're featured on functional tennis. I think it's crazy, but I think some players are delighted when they're on there. So it's great if I can bring a smile, by posting them, and yeah, people can learn about them.
Yeah, you might have like in the future, like you're gonna be on tennis TV, bro. You're gonna be on functional tennis, bro. You might
Yeah, I
get one of
wish.
those.
Yeah. Well, it's actually really interesting that I think I've seen a little bit come true, but I like to think I go to the IMG Future Stars every year with some of the best under 12s in the world, and maybe in like 6 or 7 years, some of them will come through pro. Like they could be really good. Like, and we're going to have a lot of good content of juniors, which I think is really good for us. We're going to have content that they sent us directly from their training sessions. We have high quality, and I think in the future that could be really good for functional tennis, having this backlog archive of content from these players, which will give us a bit of a competitive advantage, I feel.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's a good point. I mean, the tennis is moving forward. Like the goats are slowly retiring. We see Roger around a lot. Like he's not playing actively anymore. He's a bit more free to do marketing and stuff. Novak is a bit more relaxed these days. Rafa, we don't know. So tennis is changing. Like we have the new stars now, Alcaraz and Sinner and so on. To talk about, I mean, it's an upcoming tournament now, Laver Cup. I see a red and a blue racket there. I was thinking of that tournament. We can mention those if you want. There's also a jersey in the back with a signature. I'm curious to hear what this is.
Okay, I'll tell you this. The jersey, that's an Alcaraz signed jersey from Wimbledon. Now, a company I did a bit of work for sent me that as a gift. This big box appeared for me one day, and I had no idea what it was, and it was well packaged. So yeah, it's an Alcaraz signed. It was the year he won Wimbledon, a signed jersey.
Amazing.
So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I used to get a lot of stuff sent to us, and now, like if stuff comes from the States, we always get big duty bills and VAT. I'm sure if you get stuff from the States, and you're just like, you spend your time doing admin work, chasing those things. So I told companies, don't send me anything anymore. I don't need more rackets. I don't need it. It's not that I'm reviewing. I know we're doing the racket of the year, but I'm not like you. I'm not reviewing rackets. I don't need them. So I'm like, please don't send me anything. Now, ASICS send me loads. They're great. They're actually our podcast sponsor. So they've been really good to me the past few years. And so I love working with them. And so I'll accept their stuff. But the Laver Cup is on, it starts today or tomorrow. And we coincidentally launched a limited edition saber. Now, this is really, my initial plan was to do a country range like the States, Germany, the UK for top countries. And I thought, well, what I just do a Team Europe and Team World one and see how that goes. So yeah, this is probably the quickest racket I've turned around. And yeah, so it's launching now in a few hours actually. And it's a blue and a red one. I'm going to get you one here because I have one here right behind me. I don't know who can see what or anybody can see it, but there's just a blue one, and we have a red one. So there's the red one's Team World, the blue one's Team Europe, and they're all individually numbered. There's 50 of each. So now they're limited editions. We try and individually number all of them, and which is kind of cool because people love that. So if you're on our wait list, you get to pick your number. Now, sometimes everybody wants one, so we raffle that off. So that's gone down really well because when we launched our limited edition range last year, they all said 1 of 50, and everybody thought they got number one. And I was like, no, it's 1 of 50. So I learned there. But we also we had a special black edition for our 1 million followers. And as we've talked about, as you talked about me last week, black is the racket everybody wants. And also, this really probably should have been the Olympic racket for Novak. But it's we've 3 of these, and one I'm keeping for here. Another one we're giving away. So if you buy one of our 1 million follower edition rackets, you get entered into a giveaway for this. And I think there's 20 or so of them left. And then the other one we just put for sale on their website, and somebody bought it.
Very cool.
Pretty crazy. €1,000. I was
saying, it was €1,000. Oh, yeah, my God.
I was like, nobody's ever going to buy this. I hadn't even told anybody, and I saw an order come in. I was like, oh my God. So there's some serious, as you know, there's some serious tennis racket collectors out there with a lot more money than me. So yes, I was surprised at that. And somebody else inquired about it. I was like, well, there's none left now. So it's cool to do a limited edition run. It just helps keep me, top of mind when we put out these limited edition rackets. So yeah, so that's it. So launching right now are those rackets.
Awesome. I think it's fun with cosmetics. I think that is adding something, right? I mean, you can call racket companies lazy for releasing cosmetics, and sometimes they are. But overall, if it's just like similar price or like maybe a limited edition properly, like one of 50, like you're doing, I think it's cool. I think also maybe the other racket brands should consider like, okay, here's one of 100, or something, because
Yeah.
people like that stuff. And if you're charging, like, I mean, I can understand, like, there's a gold one, there's one of three, €1,000. I find that the psychology of that interesting, because if you put prices really high, sometimes people want to buy it more than if you put like 250 or whatever, so
Yeah,
it's quite fascinating.
I don't think I'd sell many of them at that price,
No,
realistically.
probably
So I
not.
was just no, but I think I'd actually like to do some work for a racket brand, like a proper racket brand. I think, like, obviously our numbers are tiny compared to the racket brands out there. So there's only so much I can do from it, working with players and various things. But I definitely think there's some cool, interesting things they could be doing with their players, and they're not doing. So I think these big companies, sometimes there's so many commands of chain there that, they all report to somebody else, and it takes forever to they have to plan 2-3 years in advance. So I'm probably lucky that I could work with you now. In a few months we can have a saber, that sort of thing. We can move quickly. And so, but I definitely think you're right, racket brands could be doing a lot more for their players, I think, which ultimately will help build a better following and better fan interaction with the player and the brand.
Yeah, there's a lot to be done. I think marketing in tennis is sometimes, like, from the bigger players, a little bit left behind, it feels like, and I've talked about that before on the podcast, that golf does a real good job with, like, grow the game and the interaction. I think ATP is picking up some speed. They're doing a bit of more, like, engaging content, at least, and trying a bit more to be closer to the players and the fans. But in terms of WTA, I think they still have a lot of work to do. I don't think they're doing that well, and I think that's harming the women's game, right? So definitely could see more improvements in terms of engagement from tennis organizations like ITF, ATP, WTA, I think.
Yeah, well, if they're listening, give me a call.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
the ATP, no, look, it's like I'm going to try now get to more the junior side of things. Like it's great going to the tournaments and like filming content, but I'm going to try concentrate a little more getting to the higher class junior tournaments. Like I'll try go to Monaco, to Monte Carlo, the Tennis Europe finals next month. So I'm going to try do that and give those guys a bit more exposure and help them, because I think it's good if you're sharing the younger generation. That can inspire a lot of players also.
Yeah, and it's a niche that it's not really taken as well. Like, I mean, you see a billion, focus on the ATP WTA, right? Everybody wants to
Mm.
focus on the stars, and sometimes that's a bit of a shame, because it's like it gets so uh, concentrated on like the top 100 level players, and you see that with prize money, you see that with attention, while the sport is maybe suffering at like top 500, top 1,000 ITF juniors, so where you can
Yeah.
do a lot of different, or there's some changes to the maybe rules, to the games, the structure, to the marketing. So I think you're doing the right approach to actually focus a little bit more on the junior development and the strong juniors in the world.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll see. That's obviously a big part of our strategy is junior tennis, like showcasing these great tennis players, whether it's Australia, South Africa, South America, and yeah, not many people know about these junior players, and it's crazy. There's so many good ones out there. So we love trying to find them and then showcase. I definitely know that players have been signed by agents after being seen on functional tennis. That has happened in the past. But so look, that's why we give them exposure, and hopefully there's somebody out there that can help them either from an agency or financially, because we know how expensive it is.
Yeah, tennis is a game of money, right? For everyone. Like, just launching your tennis career is a huge investment. In terms of running an e-commerce company, you've been doing it for a while. I guess you started with the Funky Christmas jumpers, right?
Yeah.
Which was a commercial success. Are you still
Yeah,
doing that, by the way?
yeah, sort of. I'm trying to see if I have a jumper here. Started in 2008. It was just a fun project. Some of our friends used to go out, like let's say 2006, 2007, used to go out and have some great nights. And they always wore these jumpers. And like, those guys are having great crack. And by the way, any American listeners, crack is just fun. It's not crack as in, it's an Irish thing. They're having great crack with these jumpers on. We need to get some. And there was one place in the UK that sold them. They sold it every October. So we're like, okay, we're going to get our own made. And there was no Alibaba before. It was hard to find brands and designers and everything. And I remember I got it done. Not sure how I got it done, but it must have been November 2008. Jumpers arrived and we managed to sell them. We'd no e-commerce experience. We just got to work and did some guerrilla marketing, and since then that grew 2009, 10, 11. Then we had our own store as well in Dublin City, which went really, really well. A few years of that, and then it sort of died. Maybe 2013, 14, 15, 16, it died off. And it was a sort of thing where we'd have, because it's only 10 weeks of the year, you sort of say, okay, next year's going to be different. I give it a go. So you'd wait around the whole year and realize another flop, and we'd stuck with thousands and thousands of jumpers in storage. And it was a good, fun challenge. And we met so many people. I learned so much. And actually, functional tennis, our main company name is still Funky Christmas Jumpers. Well, so it's kind of, some people get sometimes a random shipment from Funky Christmas Jumpers. And like, what's this like? So that still goes on. But we still, this year, I made an effort. I think a few years ago, early on, I used to give random free Christmas jumpers to customers, and because I had loads of them. So we used to early in the journal days. But so this year, we've a top seller called Rudolph the Reindeer. It's quite a famous jumper. And I said, okay, I'm bringing that back. So it's available now, but mainly we start to push in late October. We'll start promoting it a lot better. We have our Rudolph the Reindeer available, which is the cutest Christmas jumper in the world. And so, so that takes over. Sort of complements, a bit mad doing it, but it complements functional tennis from an e-commerce point of view. But I think I do love e-commerce. It's good fun, and it's great to be able to ship our product all over the world.
Yeah, I think, and you do a great job. Like, I mean, it's quite an undertaking. You talk a lot about, like, people want to go into drop shipping or doing some kind of e-commerce company today, but you need to do the marketing right. You need to do good products, obviously, and hopefully you do maybe something a little bit innovative if you can. And in your case with the saber and everything, it's pretty cool. In terms of like developing a product, like going the next step, what's next for functional tennis? Like, do you have some products brewing? I know a little bit, but I just wanted to see how much you can say.
I do. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've been working on it now over a year, and it's just so slow. Between who's been slow? Maybe my fault. I've probably been the slowest, to be honest, with it. And I thought the goal is to launch it when we hit 1 million followers, and that obviously didn't work out. And I'm still have no launch date at the minute, so I don't want to talk about it because it may not even happen. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not fully convinced. So I'm hoping, I'd say Q2 next year, I will have something new, and it's either going to make or break functional tennis. Like, I think we need something new, by the way, in order to keep this company growing, and keep moving forward, which is important because, the day you stay still, the day everything stays still, you're either growing or going backwards. And if you're staying still, you're always in trouble because it tends to go down, not up. So I'd like this product to work, and then it will introduce me to a lot of other it will open up a range for me. But I know how challenging the area is. I'm not giving away anything here, by the way, but it's been a challenge between working. Maybe technically it's been hard. That's probably been hard, and then I've been a little bit slow. Some members, I get some consultants to help me. They've been a little bit slow as well. So it's been a slow process. Hopefully Q2 next year. But look, I'll try to do a bit of a build up to it, a fun build up. You'll obviously be involved in some capacity. We'll have a few others, and it's going to be, maybe after I speak to you next week, it may never happen. Like you need you need to have positive feedback from a few people, because I think that's important. And if I don't get that, then it will be shelved and I'll start again. It could take another year. So the goal is to, Q2 next year, I'll be back with something new. We may tease it out in Q1, but so I'll do a similar strategy to the launch strategy to the saber, sort of releasing the product, how we showcase that, and then move it forward. But it's not a new saber. The saber isn't changing for now. Maybe I've been thinking about, like, we've done a lighter saber, and we've done the special edition. We do a junior saber, but a lot of people actually may like a heavier saber.
Yeah, or maybe
I've
even like a slightly bigger saber, like a 50 square inch saber or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe a bit more
I
forgiving.
some people have said that, like, more of a wooden style, wooden head, like, so 60. But I don't know. I've thought about it, and I don't know. It's not a training aid then anymore, I don't think. I think right now we have the right mix of, it's hard but easy. I worked hard on the 37 square inch head size. I think any bigger then, it's a bit easier. I don't know. I don't know. Do you know the guys who do the wooden racket? Are they from Sweden?
Yeah, I think there
Yeah.
might be several
What?
people trying this, but Epoch, like the ones I did a video about,
Yes. Yeah.
which did really well. That video had like quite a strong interest because I think there are a lot of people in tennis and in the world in general like are very nostalgic, right? They want to bring back the past.
Yeah.
We all live in the past in some way, right? So, and they did do like really nice handmade wooden rackets with modern specs. So it's like modern head size, kind of the shape
Oh,
of the racket, everything.
okay. So it's modern head size. Okay, that was the question I was going to ask you. Okay, and how do they play?
They play really nice, like very very nice. But obviously, when you do wood, the flex is gonna be immense, right? So you're gonna have like so much vibrations in the racket, not like harmful vibrations, but if you're hitting a little bit outside the sweet spot, it's like sayonara, right? So it's old school in that sense. So no matter, you cannot tweak wood in a sense unless you start doing what Lacoste did and Prince did way back when, is to do like a graphite wood hybrid. I even have one of those, like one of the
Oh wow,
500 Lacoste rackets with a wood and graphite in it.
nice. Yeah, it's I just interested in what they've done. I haven't played with one. I've seen it, and sorry, I've seen the video, and I think it's interesting. And I'm not sure. The reason I was asking about them was I was curious of the head size. I forgot it was a big head size. I was wondering maybe they had a 60 or something. But yeah, we have been asked for certain things, but sometimes if one person asks for something, doesn't mean it's a good idea. You
No.
know, sometimes if bend your back, if you try and do something for one person, you could spend a lot of time and money, and it's just not worth it. But sometimes people don't know what they want as well. Uh,
No, and I think it's a good sign from you as well that you're like, when you were talking about like your product strategy, and maybe this product will be released next year, maybe not, that you are, apprehensive, and you're really looking into getting positive feedback, product market fit, all kinds of things, because you're putting so much time and effort into a product. Like some companies, people, they just like to, okay, slap their logo on something that already exists and just send it out. But I like the more approach of like, okay, we really want this to be good, and if it's not good, I don't want to release it, because I think
I
that's the
know,
mentality you should have,
and
ideally.
it's really hard to say. Like I think I showed it to you last December. When was I in? Was I in
Yeah.
Marbella last December? Like, that shows how slow this has moved. Just it's hard to say no to something you've put so much money and effort and time into, and to say, you know what, I'm pulling the plug on that. I'm starting again. I'm ripping it up and starting again. That is a really hard thing to do. And obviously, the sooner you can do that, the better. But yeah, I'm hopefully I won't have to go down that route. But so Q2 next year, we'll have something exciting. And initially, this product that we launch will only be in pretty small quantities, because I do think it's a little bit risky. So I don't want to go crazy. And then, but we'll be ready to go straight away once we get a good reaction, which will lead to delays, but it will put us in a better place.
When it comes to your business, like functional tennis, and your work-life balance, like how is that working out for you? Like it's I mean, you're not really 100% one-man band, but it's a small operation, I guess. So how much do you have to work and keep up, and do you have time to play tennis even?
It's not a 4 hour e-commerce business like you probably read about on Twitter. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely full time. It more or less is I'm going to say a one man band. I do have somebody else podcast once a week, once every 2 weeks. I get some help. The sabers I try and pre-pack, so I get some freelancers in every 3 weeks to pre-pack a load of sabers, so it makes that job easier for me. And then if a designer helps with a few things. But in general, it's me day to day between customer support, Instagram posts, and searching videos. The podcast, obviously, you know how hard it is to get guests. It's not easy. Like, we've done 240 episodes now, and just getting guests has got really hard. So, there's all these struggles. So there's always something going on all the time. And yeah, so maybe at the moment it's a bit more difficult for me because we moved house and I have an office one side the city. So I travel a little bit more than I like. Historically, I did everything from the one place. So I had my office and slash storage warehouse in the one building. And that worked really well for me. Like there was no time wasted traveling. So it gave me more time for tennis. But over the past year now, I'm in an office the other side of the city. So I travel there 3 days a week. Right now I'm at home, but also we've 3 kids now. So my wife's going back to work in January. So it's going to get a lot more messy. And so, yeah, it's full on all the time. You're on your phone first thing in the morning, on your phone last thing at night. You sometimes get up at 3 a.m., you're checking something, replying to somebody, and which I do love, by the way. I really love it, but it's hard, but I love it. And do I play? No, I don't play too much tennis. Since I moved, also, I moved away from my tennis club, which has been really hard. And I'm injured on and off. So I need to join the local tennis club here and just get committed to getting to that where we talked about to start that base, get to week one where I can put in a few weeks of hard work. And yeah, I'm also thinking of obviously I think of a lot of top trainers we've had on the podcast. So they're so nice people I've built up great relationships with, and one of them, I think we're going to work on doing a little training course for me to help get the feet moving again. Because once you hit your 40s and you stop, the feet just you lose the hop, the bounce. So my goal would be even not to play tennis, but do the training that he tells me to do. Because sometimes I go to the gym and my goal is to be a better tennis player, and I'm like, is this exercise going to help me be a better tennis player? I'm like, no. So what are you going to do? You're going to be sore tomorrow. I know it has some sort of benefit, but ideally, I'm at the stage now where every rep is important and it has to be specific to tennis. So yeah, I need somebody to build me a proper plan. So hopefully that will come in the next few weeks.
Yeah, now you can do a lot of things at home. Like I do a lot of like high intensity programs, which do some work for tennis. And I used to be more of like, okay, I go to the gym and you do some weights and stuff, but it really has zero benefit. I think sometimes
Yeah.
with tennis, you're just getting heavier and bulkier, and you're not moving faster or more explosive. So it's more important to do like more leg works and more explosive
Yeah.
dynamic stuff. And that seems to help a lot, especially when you're passing 40s. I think it's extra important to keep it up. Otherwise you slow down quite a bit
But
and you can get injured easily, right? That's the problem with tennis.
well, for me, I find when I was playing tennis, let's say 3, 4 times a week, sometimes five, I was quite diligent. I do some rehab exercise, preventive exercise beforehand. So 15 minutes beforehand every day and a bit after. But now that I'm not playing tennis, I just don't do that anyway. So the gap gets bigger. But I think my advice for anybody, late 30s, early 40s is don't stop. Just do something every day. Do not stop. Like, do not stop playing tennis. Do not stop exercising, because when you stop for an extended period of time, it just takes that much longer to get your fitness back. It's a real struggle to get the fitness back. So don't stop moving. That's my advice for the 40-year-old listeners.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone really, like, it's very good to have your daily exercise. It's something I try to do, being on the court like 4 or 5 times a week still. Like it's something you just need to make sure you move something every day. Otherwise you get stiff, super stiff,
Yeah.
right? So one thing I always ask towards the end of a podcast is like what the racket and the. You don't need to go into specs in case you don't 100% know them, but you're a radical guy, right? We talked about that on your podcast.
Yeah. So I've none here. I could have had them here. I didn't need a room. I, I was always a radical guy, a bit of a Prince kid when I started getting a bit more serious. I remember I had a Prince. So Irish number one time was Owen Casey. I'm trying to think what I sort of used some sort of a head radical always. I always had the yellow Agassi radical. I remember getting that one. I loved that. I had Donny Pro one at some stage, but not the orange one. There was a camouflagey color one or a purpley color one.
Yeah.
Had that at some stage. And I remember once stupidly buying the Jim Courier Pro Staff, the American flag one. Could never play with that. And some of my friends at the time would have played with Pro Staff, the Fisher. What was the Fisher racket? The Stick one.
The Pacific Vacuum Pro 90.
Well, yeah, it was just Fisher Vacuum Pro
Not
at the
Pacific.
time.
Pacific is their new name, but
Yeah.
yeah, Fisher
So
Vacuum Pro 90.
some used to use the Fisher, some used the Prestige, and some used the Pro Staff. And I could never play with those rackets. So you can see I was more of a radical player, or a bit more the Donne style. And then, yes, a radical mainly. And what happened then? think it was always Radical. Some stage, sorry, so Owen Casey was the Irish number 1 tennis player, and one time he gave me his Prince long bodies. They were the graphite 2s, I think, with they had the extra shaft in the V. Was that the graphite 2 with the extra? Yes,
Think so, yeah.
was what. So he gave me. They're still lying around the house somewhere. So I used them for a while, but then I went back to, I think the Radical. Then I used a lot was the Eye Intelligence one. I
That's a
can't.
good one.
That
Yeah,
was it's
95
still,
square inch
yeah.
control racket. Yeah,
I have, I still have 2 of them, and I remember I was always confused. One said L4 and one said L5, and I was like, "Why are these rackets different?" Well, that was their rating back then. Obviously, one was maybe an American one, one was a European one, but I always think I must give them to Nicky, to your pal Nicky, to see if we can freshen them up. It'd be a really nice, fresh racket. So I used that for, I think I used that for a long time, and then stopped playing tennis for a while. And then McGee gave me his prestiges. So James McGee would have been Irish number 1. He had Pro Stock prestiges. I used to use them. I don't know what YTK or what, I don't know what code they were. They were just nice. And then I started for a while, I had a Prince EX03, which I thought was a beautiful racket. But I used to break too many strings in them. Around mishits, the strings would just break. So had to stop using them. And then I went back to James, and he was onto Radicals now. So ever since then, I've used his Radical, Pro Stock Radicals. Now, I did sort of run out of them between some angry events over the years and whatnot. So I asked Head, would they sell me some? And I think they were about 335 strong, from what I remember. Quite a little bit head heavy, more balanced towards the head. I don't know what number, I don't know how many head points light that is. And what else? I think had silicone in the inside, and it was a 18, 19 string pattern. So I think the string pattern was different. It wasn't stock string pattern. And yeah, it was really nice. It was amazing. But then I ran out of them, and I asked Head, would they? Cause I had a relationship with Head at this stage. I was like, guys, any chance? Here's James's number here. Here's the racket model number, the code name. Any chance you can do me a few of these? And they're like, no, €300 each if you want them. So they put a price on them. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And can you send me some free heads? Yes. So they sent me a load of heads. I sent them to Unstrung. And the guys at Unstrung, I sent them James's racket, and they matched them up perfectly. Only thing that was different was the string pattern. I went 16, 19 because I couldn't drill out my own string pattern, which sort of suits me as well. So ever since then, I've more or less used that. More recently, I'd like every tennis player, it's nice to change it up. They all want to change it up at some stage. And stock wise, I just could never find anything. I like the blade, but I think a Radical and a blade player is totally different. They're totally different rackets. There's too much control coming out of the blade, I thought, and I could never felt right. But you recommended the Blade 100 then, and which I tested. Wilson sent me one, and I thought that was beautiful. I think it's really nice. Then I tested Pure Aero, and it's like, this is even nicer. And I thought the Pure Aero was probably the closest match to the Radical. And I judged it a lot on the backhand, where, on a backhand return, where you're on the stretch, I'm double-handed. I just found always my Radical, no matter how much I'm stretched, I could control it. The head was just, you wouldn't lose control. And I found the Pure Air was the closest I could get to that. And so, yeah, so at the minute, the Pure Air's in the bag, the Radical's in the bag. And because I don't play that much, it doesn't really matter what I use. I just like to change and test and various different things. So roughly about 335 grams, I reckon. A little bit more head, a little bit more head heavy, 16, 19 pattern, and head leather grip. Has the head leather grip.
Leather
Big
grip
difference.
guy.
The calf grip from Head is amazing. As a kid, I remember playing with the Prince and the Pro Staff and the Prince Graphite 1, and I used to hate those leather grips. Absolutely hate them. But now the calfskin grip and a blue Turner grip over it for me is heaven.
Sounds good. Sounds like you're becoming a bit like me, like you're running around with 3-4 different rackets in your bag. But the Arrow, last but not least, like, is it a 98 or the 100 you're playing? 98, I assume.
98,
Yeah.
98, yeah.
So Alcaraz style.
I have this one you might like.
That looks not so whole anymore. This is public, right?
It is. It's a 319, 31.7 pounds, 304 swing weight.
Yeah, it's
It's
public.
brilliant.
I have those specs already
So,
from someone who got his racket. He does like to break them. This is a good racket, like the one that he
oh,
uses, the T Fight. It's a nice frame,
it's
yeah, but not
it's very
now.
it feels nice even though it's broken. But I was in Monte Carlo this year and we were there during practice week and it was early there one morning. I looked in the bin, I was like, that's like a funny shaped bin. And I pulled that out and another one. And he must have been laid on the night before, but it was the other one. I should have brought the other one home. I just thought I wouldn't get it past security because I just had a backpack, and the other one was complete. I've never seen a racket destroyed. I think I posted on Instagram, and I got people to guess, which they posted extremely well for us. But he absolutely destroyed it. So my new thing now is to go to term to check the bins, just out of curiosity to see if we can find anything interesting because it makes a fun post.
Yeah, yeah, people like that, and it's also kind of like it shows the emotion of tennis, right? The frustration of playing tennis, which we all know pretty well. And if you have one of those, even if it's broken, it's kind of a nice thing to have in your office. You know, it's like if it
Yeah,
belongs to a strong player. So
but
I think
the,
it's a pretty cool one.
let me ask you, I think the posted a few weeks ago was the one where we talked about, oh, Ben Shelton post where he gets fined by Yonex if he breaks a racket. Did you know that?
Yeah, Yonex are I think the toughest on finding people. I don't know that the other companies have policies, but I do know that, for example, when Bublik was breaking loads of e zones, he was playing with the e zone for a while, like maybe a year or so. And I think in the end, like it was too expensive for him to keep breaking rackets, or maybe they didn't like it because it doesn't look so good
Yeah,
on the brand. And Yonex is a bit more of a serene kind of Japanese style brand, so I think they don't really appreciate when the players break the racket. It doesn't look so good for the racket company. So yeah, they find the player. I don't know if the other ones do, but I know Yonex
yeah.
do.
I never knew that. It was kind of interesting. I remember once somebody told me that Roddick had gone through, now this could be utter crap, but 450 odd rackets. He used to number all his rackets and yeah, he got to like over 450 he used to break. That's a lot of broken rackets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Safin, I think, has the record still around like 1,350 or something
Wow.
like that.
Wow. That's that's
It's an
crazy.
expensive cost in the
That's
balance sheet
crazy.
there.
That's crazy. But yeah, so
Or
that's it. That's it. That's
All
it.
right,
So
Fabio. Thanks a lot. I'm about to head up to the tennis court for the second time today. I'm playing on clay now. I'm playing on hard court at 9 in the morning. This is the life. Now I have many rackets to test. Yeah, always fun to test some rackets. We'll see how my body holds up. It's a bit windy here today, so we'll see. But always nice talking to you. Really great to have you on the pod. Good luck with the Team World and the Team Europe editions of the Sabers. I hope you do well with those. They look great. And the other products coming up. So functional tennis, everyone, you probably know if you're listening who Fabio is and his account. But it was nice to have you.
great. It's great to be on. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jonas. And I'll see you soon.
For sure.